Hey guys, we have to talk about that Dallas loss yesterday. Everyone is panicking. The sky is falling, and rightfully so. I mean, the Dallas Cowboys are not what they were last year. They're not what they've been for the past couple years, but everyone is looking for solutions. And the one that I don't want on the board is to fire Mike McCarthy. Do not fire Mike McCarthy. Now, I have been accused many, many times of being a Dallas Cowboys hater. I'm not a Dallas Cowboys hater. As I have outlined and laid out and explained many times, my mother is a diehard Cowboys fan. I want the Cowboys to be in the postseason and go far in the postseason. A Cowboys Super Bowl this year would be excellent for me. It's not looking like that's going to be the case. But the Cowboys are a huge brand. I like when the Cowboys are good, but if you're not going to be good, at least be interesting. And that's what they are. But let me explain why I don't think they should fire Mike McCarthy. First of all, I'm not a big fan of firing coaches midseason. I always think that's a panic move. I just outlined this with Robert Saleh and the Jets. I didn't think that was a good decision. And I don't think firing Mike McCarthy would be a good decision either. Now, everyone's going to look for a scapegoat. You lost 47-9 and got embarrassed on a national stage on Jerry Jones' birthday of all days. They looked awful. Dak Prescott's been paid. CeeDee Lamb has been paid. There's expectations that are through the roof every single year with the Dallas Cowboys. I get it. But firing Mike McCarthy is not going to solve the problem. First of all, when you fire a coach midseason, there are, in my opinion, two reasons why you do it. Either one, it's because it's such an unmitigated disaster that you just have to do something. So there's been some scandal. There's been this complete collapse. That's not the case. They're 3-3 and they're heading into the bye. There's a lot of football left to play. So that's not it. They're bad, but it's really just because they're the Cowboys that we are freaking out like this. Or two, you feel like a real change can be implemented by bringing in an interim coach, switching to an interim coach, and that is going to change the direction of the team and might actually put you in a better position to win. Again, Mike McCarthy is the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. He's going to get criticism at a higher level than any other coach, and the same with all the players. But this is not entirely on Mike McCarthy. In fact, I wouldn't actually put most of this on Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy is a Super Bowl winning head coach. Every time I bring that up, people are like, oh, it was so long ago. It was in ancient times. It doesn't matter how long ago it was. It means he knows how to coach a team to and win a Super Bowl. And it's not like that was some fluke. He had a lot of other success outside of that. And again, for the last 3 years, they've won 12 games. Dak Prescott had the best year of his career last year under Mike McCarthy, who took over the offense, was an MVP finalist and an All-Pro. So everyone just relax on it being Mike McCarthy's fault that the Dallas Cowboys are looking the way that they're looking. There's multiple reasons why they're looking the way that they're looking. One, this is not the same roster as it was last year. Everyone kept saying, oh, they have all these all pros. They had this great roster. Yeah, that was last year. And I do think that last year was the biggest indictment of Mike McCarthy and Dak Prescott because Jerry Jones did his job last year. This year, however, Jerry Jones did not do his job. And on his 82nd birthday, he got to watch that play out in real time at home for everyone to see. The Lions were embarrassing them. They were doing whatever they wanted. They were playing in their faces. And that's what you're supposed to do as a professional team. But the problem is they have no home field advantage. They do not have the same roster they did last year. And they have the same expectations. And this is why I'm always hung up on expectations. I was hung up on the expectations for the Jets this year. Super Bowl expectations. Why would they have Super Bowl expectations? The Jets haven't made it to the postseason since 2010. Why would the Cowboys have Super Bowl expectations? They haven't been to the NFC Championship game in almost 30 years. Why would that be the expectation? And this is really why there's so much panic around the Cowboys right now. Are they a good team? No. Are they as good as they were last year? No. Are they a Super Bowl contender? Surely doesn't look like it right now. But keep in mind, there are some other factors into why they lost yesterday. They haven't been able to stop the run for years. That's a Jerry Jones problem. If you can't stop the run, they haven't been able to run the ball this year. That is also a Jerry Jones problem. Derrick Henry has been excellent this year. Not to my surprise at all. They made no effort to get him whatsoever. And when Jerry was asked about it, they said they couldn't afford it. So they can't run the ball. They can't stop the run. Dak Prescott doing Dak Prescott things in big moments, as he always does. I like Dak a lot, but when the lights get bright, we see these kind of performances from Dak Prescott. So I don't think that Mike McCarthy is the problem. I think the roster is the problem. I think the offense hasn't looked the same with issues that are mostly due to personnel. The defense has been up and down all season outside of the first game of the season. And you're missing DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons. So look, it's looking bad. It's looking bad for the Cowboys right now. The halftime score of the Cowboys' last 4 home games: Packers 27-7, Saints 35, Cowboys 16, Ravens 21, Cowboys 6, Lions 27, Cowboys 6. They have no home field advantage. They do not come out with juice. They struggle against good teams. They beat up on bad teams. That was the same story as last year. I don't have the entire solution for you because it's not like you can go out and restaff this entire roster. You had confidence in the pieces that you brought in this year. The expectations just needed to be more reasonable. At the end of the day, they're 3-3, not where you want it to be, and obviously coming off a tragedy of a loss. And so for the next 2 weeks, we are going to pick apart the Cowboys and try and come up with solutions for how to make this a Super Bowl team. Maybe they're just not a Super Bowl level team. And maybe some of this year is on Jerry Jones and his inability to make the big move, his taking forever to sign Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb so the money isn't lining up. They're not aggressive in the offseason with free agency signings. They never have been. This is the roster that he felt was good enough to go compete. Well, it's not. And you can't make sweeping changes in the middle of the season and expect that to put you in contention with some of the other great teams around the league. The Lions are a great team. They were in the NFC Championship game last year. They did to you what great teams do to average or below average teams. That was a disaster yesterday, no doubt about it. But Mike McCarthy being removed as the head coach is not going to be the thing that's going to solve it. Also, quick aside, obviously we knew it was going to be bad news about Aiden Hutchinson, but he had surgery yesterday on his tibia and fibula, and he's going to be out indefinitely. Unbelievable win by the Lions, a team that I think can go really far in the postseason, but that is a tragic loss. He is a really great player. He had 1 sack and 3 quarterback hits against the Cowboys before leaving for his injury. He had a season high 6.5 sacks before that and up that to 7.5 against Dallas. That is an irreplaceable player for the Lions, so I'm sure they're going to be looking to shore up that position, but that is just this bummer of a news. He's an incredible player to watch and super important to that team and was making, as I said, a ton of noise in that game before the injury. So that's going to be something to watch because as great as the Lions looked at yesterday, that is a huge loss to them moving forward. I don't know how they replace a player like that. All right, let's get into some more gloom and doom because Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence are not looking great. And those contracts are terrifying. Starting with Deshaun Watson, Browns lost 2016 to the Eagles, and he was once again uninspiring. A defense that has been up and down all season long, definitely showed up yesterday, but he's been getting constantly sacked. He doesn't look confident. He doesn't have explosive plays. I don't need to outline how bad he's been. You guys already know. It's really just the contracts for Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence, who went to London and lost 35-16 to the Bears. He's got a 5-year, $275 million deal as well, and they're also awful. I think that Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence's contracts could be the ones that course correct this seemingly trees grow to the sky concept of paying quarterbacks next man up the most amount of money that the league has ever seen. I'm fully aware that the quarterback position is the most important position on the field and that there is a very high level of urgency and panic in order to lock up your quarterback and make sure that you have the guy. And in the case of Deshaun Watson, we know that the Browns were literally willing to do anything to get him in the building. Now, they had Baker Mayfield there, who we'll get to in a second, but literally willing to do anything to get Deshaun Watson. They gave up 3 first-round picks and paid him fully guaranteed deal of $230 million. He's got more than $93 million in remaining guaranteed money on his deal. If they move off of him, the dead cap is going to be astronomical, and it's going to be very difficult to move off of him because he's not playing well. So it's not like this is a dysfunction in the building and they're like, well, somebody will want him. Now it's Deshaun Watson. Someone's going to convince themselves that he'll be different there because it's the Browns and the Browns ruin everybody, yada, yada, yada. These deals, Trevor Lawrence's and Deshaun Watson's, are deals to me that can possibly loom over this quarterback contract market. We talked a lot about it over the summer of guys getting paid and the next man up gets the most money, and pretty much middle of the road players are getting elite money. That doesn't work that way for any other position. In general, I get it. You have to have a quarterback. You're not going to win without a quarterback. You're certainly not going to go deep into the playoffs without a quarterback. You can maybe make the playoffs. You can patchwork some things together, but really that usually comes down to a really, really elite roster or a championship level coach. Mike Tomlin seems to do this every single year. He's a Hall of Famer, so you really can't count on that. The Browns were able to do it last year, but the rest of their roster was playing really well. It's really hard to win in this league, almost impossible if you don't have a quarterback, which is why these owners are caving to these insane deals without real evidence that these players are going to be able to come in and transform the organization. In both of these cases of Trevor Lawrence and Deshaun Watson as well, these are places that don't have cultures. I'm a big culture person. If you're coming into a space that has an established culture, an established identity, has a history of winning, has a coach that has a secure position, has a fan base that understands where the team is at, like all of those things, strong ownership, all of those things really play a big role in success. They're not the things that are sexy and flashy, but those are the things that I believe set you up for success. Justin Fields and the Steelers is a great example of this. Justin Fields was done. 6th round pick. Get out of here. Now the Steelers are winning. Look, is the offense incredibly explosive? No. But he has been really good this year. He looks better. He's playing with more confidence. The Steelers are winning. They're winning their style of ball. All of that is trending in the right direction. And it's because he went into a place of culture. With Jacksonville and the Browns, it's not just that you're coming in with expectations. You also have to be the guy that transforms the organization. Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. You have to be able to come in there and change the identity of that building. That's a lot to do. And everybody isn't built like that. So it's not just that you have to be good. You have to be a culture maker as well. You have to be a leader. You have to be a voice. And that's not happening with the Browns and with Jacksonville. Now, look, Trevor Lawrence is going to be there no matter what because they just signed him and he's a young player. So they're going to believe that they can turn this around and somehow he's going to start playing at to the level of expectations that we had for him, which were let's change the college rules around so we can get him out of college after his freshman year. Deshaun Watson probably needs to be benched. And I don't think they're going to have the guts to do that. And I wonder how much worse it can get because whereas Trevor Lawrence is a young player and they're just going to we need to come together. We need to have accountability, blah, blah, blah. Jacksonville's going to do what it does. Deshaun is in a bit of a different situation. One, because of the guaranteed money and how impossible it will be to move off of him. But two, you have a guy who's sitting behind him in Jameis Winston who could potentially come in and just give a little bit of different energy. He's played a lot of NFL football. Now, look, Jameis can be a game killer as much as he can make plays. But I do wonder in the locker room, all of these players know the reason that he is still the starter is because of the money. So how bad can this get when you are in a locker room playing as hard as you're playing and you know that the guy that is supposed to be leading this team is only still there in that position because of guaranteed money? Now, I know players always say they don't count each other's pockets, but things can get really bad in Cleveland and things are bad in Jacksonville. And I think that these deals potentially at the end of the season will be deals that people will look at and say, this is why you don't have to pay the most amount of money that we've ever heard of in life. Somehow these can be more reasonable deals. And if you don't have the resume to demand that, maybe we bring it down a bit. And if you want to sit, you sit and we take that risk because they're both 1-5. I mean, what difference would it make who was out there playing quarterback at that rate? I really think that these could be the deals that change the quarterback market. So we got to get some positivity in today. The Ravens look great. They had a really spooky start to the season. Spooky season. 0-2 start. lost to the Raiders at home. Kind of, I'm not going to lie, it kind of scared me a little bit. And then the Cowboys game wasn't fully convincing either. But the last 3 games, I'm on board. I think that this team is not only one of the best teams in the league, but I love how they're winning games. The game against the Commanders was one I was very curious about because the spread was, for an NFL game, pretty big. I think it was 7 or 7.5 going into the game. And the Commanders team that was playing really well. Now, obviously, this is still a rookie quarterback in Jaden Daniels, and the Ravens are a mostly veteran team. Rookie quarterbacks generally struggle against teams like that. And I don't know that I would say that the Commanders struggled. This was a good game, but the Ravens winning it the way that they did and them bouncing back from that 0-2 start, answering the call of, is this, is everything going to fall apart? Are they going to start the season 0-3? They've been great since that Cowboys game. And they are a team that everyone should be really afraid of. They play the Bucs next. The offense has been great. Derrick Henry has been spectacular. Honestly, probably my favorite player in the league in Derrick Henry. It's been so great to watch him have this success alongside Lamar Jackson. And I think that the Ravens are a team that are very, very scary. I am fully on board now. I feel like they are poised for another deep playoff run. It's very exciting to see them in this spot. And they're kind of quiet about it this year. Like, they're kind of just, we had a slow start and we figured it out and we're just stacking wins now. I don't think that they're a team that everyone is paying attention to, but not really completely sold on. And I am. I will admit it. I was nervous about the start. I did not love that Raiders loss, and I didn't even love that Cowboys win. But now I'm on board. Obviously, the Ravens were going to be good regardless. They were a team that we had high expectations of this year, but the 0-2 start did scare me. I'm not scared anymore. The Ravens looked great yesterday, and when they figure out the defense, they are going to be a really tough out. All right, how to save a little juice for Nick Sirianni. Nick Sirianni he's a really interesting character. I was completely out on him after his opening press conference. He proved me wrong in a lot of ways since then, as far as his ability to win games. And obviously that Super Bowl run was spectacular. However, there are things that he does that give me a lot of pause as far as leadership. And while the Eagles have been really up and down since last year and to start this year as well, a lot of questions about him and Jalen Hurts and are they on the same page and all these things. And I really can't figure out why. Like, what is all this disconnect? Like, you're the head coach. This is the franchise quarterback. You lose some pieces. Everybody does. You go through some ups and downs, some adversity. Why are we always talking about like all these emotional things? And then he does stuff like he does yesterday. And I'm like, it kind of tracks. I really believe if you are a leader, you can never get too high or too low. It is something that we talk about with quarterbacks all the time. It's okay to show some emotion every once in a while. And I think mostly emotion is a good thing because it means that you care. It means that you want to win. But when you are a head coach or a quarterback, you have to be able to level set. He's yelling at the fans after the game. Why are you doing this? Who is this for? That's a question I ask of a lot of things in life. Who is this for? Who is this juicing up? This isn't before the game. This isn't like motivating the players and getting everybody's energy high. This is after you've won, after you've barely beat a spiraling Cleveland Browns team, by the way. Last year, you were yelling at Chiefs fans, and the Eagles went 2-8 and lost to the Bucs in the playoffs. Not that there's any correlation, but this is something that he regularly does. It's just strange to me that you would be that emotional in that direction as the head coach. I don't need this from the head coach. I really don't even need it from the players either when it comes to fan interaction, but certainly not from the head coach. Fans are allowed to boo. Fans are allowed to be vocal. They're not allowed to be abusive. They're not allowed to throw things. They're not allowed to be physical. They're not allowed to insult you with, slurs. they're allowed to boo. They're allowed to be emotionally involved in the game. Fans pay a lot of money to come to games. They have expectations. Their happiness rides on how that team performs, particularly in Philadelphia. You don't need to interact with them or talk shit like, yeah, we got this win. I don't even know what he was saying, but it is irrelevant. Stop doing that. No, who is this for? Nobody wants this. No one is interested in this. I think that emotion from leaders needs to be exhibited in very calculated ways in chosen moments, and certainly not with fans. I'm all about the diva wide receiver. I'm all about the quarterback, throwing the helmets after a bad play. Okay, you have those emotional outbursts, but again, I'm talking about players. And even the top level players, when you are a quarterback, you can't allow that energy to just permeate throughout the entire team. Like, you have to settle down, get focused, have the memory of a goldfish, and get back out there. I don't love this from Nick Sirianni at all. It is way too emotional for a head coach. I don't know what you're yelling at fans for, particularly Eagles fans. And I just feel like this adds to what is already a pretty hot seat for Nick Sirianni. They were talking about firing him last year. The Eagles are still trying to figure it out this year. Like, got the win. Okay. Little Band-Aid win. But there's very, very high expectations for the Philadelphia Eagles this year. And this type of stuff just doesn't help anything. Not into it. Anyway, let me know what you guys think. Also, make sure you subscribe, like, share, and in the comments, let me know what other stories you guys want to talk about.